Guillotine here, and welcome to my ultimate review of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. I will be reviewing the entire series of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime over the next couple months, core by core, until I have reviewed the entire series. This should not need to be said at this point. Anybody who has watched me for the last year and a half knows this. This show, my love for this show is infinite. There's no percentage on earth that could accurately put through how much I adore this show. Because I genuinely can't think of a single thing on this planet that I love more than this series. I can't. This show changed my fucking life when I watched it. Because I didn't know that something so perfect could actually exist. I did not know that it was possible to make a piece of fiction that is so unbelievably perfect and flawless in every way that I physically cannot even I cannot stop thinking about it. Since the day I watched this show for the first time, which I have watched this show over 7 times at this point, since the day I watched this show for the first time, a day has not passed in my life where I have not thought about this show in some capacity. This show has literally taken over my life, and honestly, I could not care less. Take it. It's yours. I'm here for you. It doesn't matter because this show has brought me so much endless happiness that I can't even begin to thank it. There's no way I could ever thank this show in 100%, in a 100% way of giving back to it for what it has given me as a person. But god damn it if I'm not gonna try my absolute hardest to do that. And one thing that I have been wanting to do for so unbelievably long, pretty much since I did the review of the movie, this big spoiler review of the movie, I've been wanting to make a full series review of this absolutely fucking god tier show. And before I get into this is absolutely a spoiler review. And I know a lot of you out there watch my channel have not watched this show and have no intentions of ever watching this show. And all I'm gonna say to that, I'm not gonna be like how I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm not gonna be like, you need to watch this show, go watch this show. All I'm gonna say is if you're out there and you're watching this right now and you haven't watched this show, all I'm gonna say is if you ever take a single one of my recommendations, I don't care what it is, a single recommendation, a figure, a movie, a TV show, a game, anything, if you ever take one single recommendation, let it be this show. Please, let it be this show. And do not watch this video because even if you have no intention of ever watching this show, you don't want this spoiled for you. This show literally has the ability to change your fucking life. And I do not want to rob that from you. So please, if you have not watched this show, do not watch this video, do not watch this series. I'm sorry that it's going to be a very huge part and I'm sure a good chunk of you out there are like, DK, I don't care about this show. I know you love it, but I don't care. I'm sorry, but it's my turn to give back to this fucking anime that I have been worshiping for the better part of 2 years at this point. So without further ado, let's kick it off and begin with the very first core of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. One more huge spoiler warning. Let's get into it. This show is about a man who is basically just living his life in Japan and is killed. His life is extremely lonely. He has nobody. He has nobody. He's basically just been living a really normal life, by the book, going to work, getting by, how he is, but he's never had a girlfriend or anything like that, and that's pretty much our setup here. And actually, before we get to that, we actually have a quick little setup with Shizu, where basically the very first opening of the show, I'm sorry this is starting off so messy. The opening scene of this show is basically Japan is being bombed by somebody, and there is just people running around, and the whole place is just on fire, and things are just blowing up left and right. And you have this little girl with her mom who's running by, and they run down this street, and then you just see this big building fall over, and then suddenly the girl's mother is gone, and then the girl gets just wrapped up in this flame vortex vortex, and then we cut to Satoru Mikami, who is our main character of this show. And Satoru Mikami is just a normal dude who's, like I said, he's been kind of living a pretty shitty life, honestly. Like, he's just been kind of been rolling through the motions, you know how you do. And again, he's never really had anybody. He's just a lonely guy, and we get introduced to Satoru Mikami. And I have to say that this is literally the very first time where this show works one of its absolute best qualities. And that is that this show manages to make its characters so unbelievably lovable within a matter of literal seconds. There are so many characters in this show that we will talk about throughout this review series that literally have had almost no screen time whatsoever. And yet I just adore them. There's so freaking many characters that I literally love and would say are S-tier characters that have probably had like less than 30 seconds of screen time. It's insane, and this show literally never fails. Every single time it introduces a new character, you will literally fall in love with that character. You will become absolutely infatuated with that character. Like that, instantaneously. And Satoru Mikami is the very first occasion of this. I loved this guy immediately. Now, one thing I will say about Satoru Mikami is that I am a massive fan of the Tensura dub. I absolutely love the dub. So if you haven't watched the dub, if you love this series but you haven't watched the dub, I would highly recommend it. Literally one of the best dubs I've ever seen. And Satoru Mikami's voice actor in the dub is just absolutely perfect. I loved him so much, and he brought so much life to the character. And basically, you have Satoru Mikami in the street. You get a very short scene of him meeting up with a couple of friends and whatnot. And then a fucking crazy psycho guy just runs down the street and stabs him in the fucking stomach. And then you have to watch him slowly bleed out. But as he's bleeding out, he starts saying like, I'm so cold, it's so hot, what's going on, what is happening, it hurts so bad. And as he's doing this, he hears this like voice in his head that's like telling him all this weird stuff. Like he says like, I'm so hot, and then this voice will pop up in his head and be like, analysis complete, creating a body that does not get hot, or something like that. And he goes through this whole little motion of that. And then as Satoru dies, he kind of goes through this very weird little thing where like his voice starts to change, and then you find out that he has been reincarnated in this new world, and he is now a fucking slime. A helpless little slime that literally can't see, can't talk. The dude has just been reincarnated as a slime for some fucking reason. We have no idea why. We still do not know why at this point in the show. And basically, we go from this, and basically we just kind of, for a while, we kind of just watch him just like do nothing. Like he's just like, I'm so freaking bored. And he just starts doing anything in his power to do something that will make time go by, because he can't speak, he can't see, I don't think he can hear either, he can't do anything. He is literally a ball of blue slime and nothing more. Then he encounters the Veldora, the Storm Dragon, who has been locked in this cave that is the first place that he gets reincarnated into this cave, and he runs into Veldora, the Storm Dragon, who has been confined to this cave because he is this like ancient dragon of destruction that was put there and like placed under a seal, and he is the keeper of this forest that is called the Great Forest of Jura, which is where this cave is located. And basically in this world, this forest is where like is literally like the home of like all of like the monsters of the world, all the different species of monsters in this world. This is their home, and they have been safe there because Veldora has been there, and nobody wants to fuck with Veldora because he is there. However, when our slime friend finds this dragon in this cave, he decides, he actually makes a friend with this character, and this is once again an example of this show just fucking blowing your mind with its absolutely incredible work. Where this dragon, Veldora, you fall in love with this fucking dragon literally immediately. The writing between these two characters and the banter between them back and forth is the stuff of legend. Like, he's just like, I'm so incredibly bored. And then you go through this whole conversation, and he's like, well, I could help you learn how to see if you would, maybe be my friend. This whole show, okay, well, not this whole show. This whole first season of this show is just the most wholesome thing you have ever seen in your life. And not just wholesome to the point where it's so forced and you can feel it coming from a mile away. This show is so genuinely fucking wholesome. Maybe one of the most wholesome things I've ever seen, although I have seen Dragon Maid and Yuru Camp. So I don't know if I can go all the way that far, but it's certainly up there. And this is just one of those moments. If you would just stay to be my friend and talk to me, it is just, you get infatuated with this fucking dragon literally immediately. This is, again, one of the times where Tensora just shows you how incredible it is at making you love characters. That is literally what this show does. It introduces a character and you fall in love with the character. Then we continue and we rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat until season 2 where all hell breaks loose. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So basically this conversation ends with, we actually learn about names in this world. Now, in this world, when nothing has a name unless it is given a name by a higher being, and depending on what that higher being is, when a name is given to a different being, it will gain a certain amount of magicules, which is basically like power level in this show. And essentially, Veldora is literally like a god tier monster. Like he could literally probably destroy the entire world if he wanted to. He is a catastrophe class monster, as they call him in the show. He's the bringer of death. If he were to be free, he could literally kill everything and everyone he wanted to. So he is literally basically a god. And Veldora gives the name of this slime. He gives this slime the name of Rimuru. And then they actually also decide to call their last name Tempest, and they share this last name. So Veldora becomes Veldora Tempest, and Veldora names this slime Rimuru Tempest. And then Rimuru actually, their plan in order to get Veldora out of there is that Rimuru will swallow the entire imprisonment, the entire seal that was created to keep Veldora sealed in this cave for all eternity. He devours the entire thing, and slowly, he is going to analyze this spell and hopefully break it and then free Veldora. That is the plan. Now, this was literally supposed to be like, it would take fucking forever to ever actually get this done. It was just a pipe dream when it happened, but, we'll get to that when we get to that. And yes, he swallows up the entire thing, and this is the trigger. And this is one of the things that makes this show so goddamn amazing, is its fucking storytelling. This entire show kicks off when this event happens. Veldora is the one that is keeping the Great Forest of Jura safe. When Veldora disappears, everything is fucked. Everything is fucked. Now we have demon lords making these insane plans to take the force for themselves. All of the races, the harmony has been broken. They're attacking each other. They're trying to kill each other because they need safety again. They want to get rid of other things. They need food. They need supplies. All hell has broken loose, and this world that was already a pretty shitty world is now just on fire, basically. There is so many problems. This forest is just being fucking destroyed, basically. And this is one of my favorite things about this fucking show, is that this is literally like a part in the ending. The first scene of this ending, this one clip literally just is so brilliant, where you have this shot of this on fire world. Everything is on fire. And then you see Rimuru in his slime form fall down from the sky. He hits the ground, and everything, just like all the flames go away, grass comes in, and all like the clouds clear, and it's brilliant. It gives you life, dude. It's pure fucking euphoria. It's absolutely magical, the feelings that this show gives you. And that is basically the end of episode 1. But before we move on, oh my god, I would be a fucking monster to not talk about Nameless Story by Takuma Terashima, our very first opening to Tensora. This show has one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. And I'm gonna say this right now, all of you watching this who love the show just like me, or are just watching this along with me, if you do not fully appreciate this soundtrack, you are not fully appreciating Tensora, because this soundtrack, literally every entry in this soundtrack, every opening, every ending, every insert song is magical. It is so perfectly created. I have listened to every single song in this show over 100 times easily. 100%, over 100 times. Every single one. And every single song of this show is so perfectly matched to this show. This opening, Nameless Story by Takuma Terashima, is probably my favorite anime opening of all time. This opening perfectly captures the vibe of this show. You even have this one little shot of where Rimuru is fighting this giant snake, and the whole vibe of this little scene just in this opening, you have him fighting this snake, and then when he wins, he's literally just like, okay, moving on, and it literally just perfectly captures the absolute euphoric vibe of this show in this opening, and that is the entire opening from start to finish. And don't even get me started on the fucking music. It's god tier, dude. Even the lyrics, if you've never listened to the lyrics of this song, oh my god, it's the first lyrics of this song are, I'll surpass fiction beyond what anyone's ever known. I'll surpass fiction and write a new nameless story. Masterpiece, a literal masterpiece already. I love that opening so goddamn much. And if you are out there like, dear God, this guy's going way too crazy over an opening. Oh, this is only the beginning. This is my personal favorite Tensora opening, but every single opening, this is gonna be a thing in every single one of these reviews. These openings and these endings, we'll get to that. They're just flawless. They're essential parts of this series. Every time someone talks to me and say that they don't love this series, I go, did you listen to the openings and endings? And if they tell me no, I'm like, well, that's why. Seriously, it's such an essential part of watching this show. I remember the first time I watched this show, I skipped the ending every single time. I watched the opening, but I skipped the ending every single time. And on my second watch, I decided to listen to the ending, talking about the first ending, Another Colony by True, which we'll talk about, don't worry. I skipped it every single time. And when I listened to to the ending for the first time when I watched it on my second watch, I was like, holy shit, why did I skip this? This is fucking incredible. And again, the lyrics, these songs are literal perfection personified in this fucking anime. And just one of the other reasons why this show is the fucking god tier piece of fiction that it is. Now, moving on, first up we have the goblins, and basically from this point up until the next core is basically going to be Rimuru getting stronger and meeting all kinds of different races of monsters and befriending them and bringing him into his to his tiny little thing. He runs into this goblin tribe, and they have this very tiny little village in the forest, and they're under attack by these things called the dire wolves, which are a big deal, and they're like killing them and eating them. It's really bad. And Rimuru finds them, they ask for his help, he assists them, and in turn he gives all of these goblins names, and they of course get stronger because Rimuru has already gotten extremely strong because he was named by Veldora. Veldora is one of the most powerful beings in the world. Veldora named Rimuru, which gave him a fuck ton of magicules, making him a very, very, very powerful monster. And then he starts to name all of these goblins and become this like leader of this little village in the forest. And that is how we begin the creation of Tempest, which we will talk about in depth in the next review of part 2 of season 1. But so he does that, and then we also have him befriending the direwolves. The direwolves attack, and Rimuru defeats the direwolves, and because they have no chance against him, they yield, they also join him. So now you have goblins and you have the direwolves. Next up, we actually jump to Dwargon. So they have started to create this thing, but they need artisans, they need weapons, they need clothes, they need more food, they need more supplies. So they go to this country called Dwargon. And a lot of things kind of happen, and we have a lot of events going down involving two characters called Kaijin and Vesta. Oh my god, Vesta! I love Vesta so much. That's all I'm gonna say. This Vesta is the perfect example of one of the characters that this show will introduce. Has almost zero screen time, and I love the dude so goddamn much. If Ben Presto had a Vesta figure, I would have bought it almost immediately. Seriously, that is just insane about this show. But yes, you have a little episode where Rimuru is helping these guys out, and then you get a little bit of a fun little fan service part where they kind of go to a kind of a strip club kind of thing, and it's hilarious. It's one of the funniest fucking scenes of the first core. I absolutely love it. It's so goddamn hilarious. And and then we have what happens with Vesta, and then we end up having this falling out with Vesta and Kaijin, which leads to Kaijin joining Rimuru and going back to their village village with Rimuru, and he also brings a few other things. So now we have goblins, direwolves, and dwarves as well. Then we move on and we meet Shizue Izuwa, who is traveling with this little group of adventurers, which are Guido, Cobal, and Aaron, who is my favorite of the three. Absolutely love these characters. Three more characters that are just, it's insane how this show does it, man. I don't even know how it fucking does it, where it introduces three characters at once, and within like 2 episodes, you just absolutely love these fucking guys, and they're barely even in the show. It's mind-blowing. And yeah, you have these three characters, and they're running with Shizu, and this introduces Shizu to us, who we learn was the little girl from the opening scene of the show, and we find out that she has been summoned here. She is what's called a summon, and a summon is actually kind of bad, because if you get summoned into this world, you're on a time limit, because your magicules can't keep up with the magicules that you had cannot keep up with how you're getting them, and eventually it will consume you and kill you. So summons is a bad thing, but they are able to keep that from happening with Shizu by giving her a spirit, which balances up her magicules. So the person who summoned her puts a spirit into her, the spirit of Ifrit, the fire spirit, which gives her a ton of all, which makes her really, really powerful and allows her to continue surviving. This will become a major, major play in the next part of season 1, which of course I will review later. So yes, Shizu, that is the deal with Shizu. And essentially, Shizu comes in contact with Rimuru, who starts to help her out. And then we actually find out that Ifrit was actually put in Shizu in order to eventually take her over as her thing to incarnate. Because this is also this kind of works hand in hand. If a spirit goes into a person, it can balance up their magicules, which will help them survive. But it can also, at some point, it's possible for the spirit to become so strong to where it will incarnate into that person and take over that person's body. Another thing that we will talk about later on in the series. So Shizu and Shizu gets taken over by this Ifrit character. And Shizu is yet another character that Tensor just makes you fall in love with instantaneously. The character, literally, she's only in these first two. She's literally only in 2 episodes. Well, she's in 3 episodes. There's an episode towards the end of season 1 that she's also in. But she's literally basically in 2 episodes. Because once Shizu was taken over by Ifrit, you have the very first epic battle of slime, and this show has no shortage of epic fucking fight scenes, and this is the very first one where Rimuru has to fight Ifrit, and after winning, Shizu is pretty much on her way out. She's at peace with herself. She's at peace with herself, and she's ready to move on, and she's laying in this bed with Rimuru next to her. And she dies, and before she dies, she asks Rimuru to swallow her body so that she can rest peacefully inside of him. It's heartbreaking, and it's another scene that just makes this show the masterclass that it is, because I've never gotten through the scene without crying, and this character literally has almost 0 screen time, and yet she's easily one of the most beloved characters in the entire show. She's literally in 2 episodes of this season, and we love her that much. It's unbelievable what this show is capable of. I cannot put into words how it's literally, like, it blows my mind how it's even possible to do this. And that is what happened. And then because of Rimuru eating Shizu's body so she can rest inside of him, again, her final wish, he takes over her body. And now Rimuru has a human form. And yes, so Rimuru now has a human form, and this also makes him stronger, continues to make him stronger, and yeah, this is basically like the first major arc of Tensor, and it's just masterful. Like, what more do you want me to say? This entire fucking arc from start to finish is just incredible. It's peak fiction, show that literally you don't even know what the definition of peak fiction is, because every single episode, one after another, raises your definition of peak fiction. It's unbelievable. It really is. This first arc is incredible. But then we move on to the next arc, and we are introduced. You think you're already like, this show's fucking awesome. Then you get to the next episode where you are introduced to 6 fucking characters at once. 6 characters. And all 6 of these characters go on to be S tier characters. Well, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five of the 6. There's one that we kind of just pushed to the side a little bit. Basically, what happens is this ogre village has been attacked by an army of orcs, and they are just eating everything in sight. It's horrible. Again, just going back to Veldora disappearing and this forest becoming war, basically. Every species that was living in peace in this forest is now in danger, basically. And yes, these orcs destroy this ogre village, and these ogres seek out a Majin, which is what they call a very strong person in this world. A Majin is basically just a very, very, very strong person, and Rimuru is clearly a Majin. And he also has this mask which vaguely resembles the mask that a character that was part of this destruction of their village is wearing. So Rimuru is mistakenly taken as the person who organized this and attacked by these 6 ogres. And after a big fight, he's able to convince him that it wasn't him, and he starts to, he's able to convince them that it wasn't him, and then he actually recruits them. He gives them all names, and now they have evolved into Kijin, which are far more powerful versions of ogres that rarely ever happen. But because Rimuru is so powerful from being named by Veldora, he evolves them into Kijins. So we get that, and again, literally 5 of these 6 characters go on to be some of the best characters in this entire show. This might actually be the biggest example of Tensora just flexing its fucking muscles in character development, because I don't even know how it's possible to introduce 5 characters and have literally every single one of them become S tier characters almost immediately. You fall in love with these fucking Kijin so fast, it's ridiculous. You have Shion, Benimaru, Hakuro, and Soe, and Shuna. Now, Shuna is the one that you don't fall in love with until season 2, but the rest of these guys, they're all just fucking awesome. Hakuro is like the coolest, like, old dude sensei badass character you've literally ever seen. Makes almost like every other generic character like that from a shonen look like shit. Soe is just awesome, and he's got these like fucking like he's got this ability to shoot like string out of his hand, and it's like piano wire where it gets on you and then he can just go whoosh, and he just like splits you in half, like that scene from Cube where the guy gets like just turned into like freaking cubes, all, you know, like the thing comes down and it turns and just like Swiss cheeses the dude. And Soe has that, and then Benimaru is just the most overpowered dude you ever seen in your life. He's actually pretty close to Rimuru's level of overpowered. And then Shion is also very much not far behind, and all of these characters are just fucking awesome. And then we enter the orc disaster arc, where we learn that the reason that these orcs attacked this village of ogres is because they were ordered to by a Majin called Lord Gelmude, who is actually a person who is who is a finger of a demon lord known as Demon Lord Clayman. But we will talk about him a little bit later on in this review series. But because right now he's not too important, we just need to be talking about Lord Gelmude, and we'll also briefly mention the Moderate Harlequin Alliance, which consists of these clown characters. There's Tyr, Footman, and Laplace. And once again, it blows my mind how this show can do this. 3 characters introduced, all 3 of them. You're like, these characters are fucking creepy and I love them. Oh my god, how does this show do this? How does this show introduce characters and literally within seconds make me love them? I don't understand how that's even possible, but it does over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it just continues to and it just keeps going. We're still doing that now with like Adelman from the fucking from like the end of season 2 part 2. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, so yes, we learn that Gelmude has orchestrated this attack on the ogres, and we enter the orc disaster arc. And basically this arc consists of Rimuru having to fight this orc disaster, who is this who is this very, very strong monster. But before we get into that, we also have to talk about the lizard men, and Gabiru! Gabiru. Okay, the lizard men is another race of monsters in the Great Forest of Jura that are now under attack, that are now in danger because of the threat of the orc disaster. And after seeking out help from some smaller goblin villages, they send one of their envoys, Gabiru, who is one of my favorite characters of this show, and he goes and finds Tempest, and Tempest and Rimuru, and this is literally some of the funniest fucking shit I've ever seen in any anime. The episode 11, I think it's episode 11, Gabiru is here, is literally, I don't know if I've laughed harder at anything else in my entire life. This entire episode from beginning to end is literally comedy fucking gold. It's the funniest shit you'll ever see in your goddamn life. It's the first part where we actually find out that Shion is like this horrible fucking cook, and all of the other Kijin like know this, and they like throw Rimuru under the bus, and it's this absolutely hysterical scene where they're at this table. Rimuru has no idea what he's in for. Shion's bringing him this food, and Betty, Maro, Hakuro, and Soe are just like... And then she puts the food in front of him, and he's like, "Look at me in the eye before I die!" And then Soe just disappears. Hakuro like masks his presence. It's the most hysterical thing I've ever seen in my life. And this joke, it's so amazing how this common overused trope, they even address it as an overused trope in the show, how they make it so goddamn hilarious every single time they use it. It's absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, so... we had that, and Gabiru finds Rimuru and this village. He's originally like, why the fuck is this slime acting like a total big shot? Why is he the leader of this, thinking like it's all bullshit and there's a different leader that they're hiding? But then we have to talk about the orc disaster, which is the finale of the first core of That Time I Got Reincarnated as Slime, where Rimuru and Tempest and Benny, Maru, Shion, and all them go and try to destroy this orc disaster. And also the Kijin are trying to get revenge. At this point, Rimuru hasn't actually made the Kijin 100% a part of his like empire yet. They're only helping him in order to get revenge on the orc disaster and Lord Gelmute and all that. So at this point, we go through this, and we have the second epic fight of Tensora. The second just amazing fucking fight that is just so awesome. Every single time I watch this episode, I am just reminded how fucking masterful this show is when it wants to be an action show, and how much it just destroys like every shonen I've ever watched, because not only can it have amazing, incredible action scenes with awesome climaxes and just amazing scenes that last an entire episode, but it can use it to continuously develop its already incredible characters. You get some really great development with Gabiru in here, where you actually find out that he was named by Gelmute as a sole reason to be eaten and to be more powerful, because having a name makes him more powerful. So if he is eaten by the orc disaster, he will be more powerful. He will gain a lot more magicals from eating Gabiru, which is the only reason Gabiru received a name from Lord Gelmute. And it's heartbreaking. It's one of the first times where you're just like, oh man, poor Gabiru, man. Because Gabiru originally kind of sucks, but my god, he just rapidly, again, Tensora being Tensora, dude, making you just infatuated with characters almost immediately. It's ridiculous. And yes, and this fight between Rimuru and the orc disaster is absolutely incredible, and then the way it ends it's incredible, where you have Rimuru where Rimuru, after killing the orc disaster, takes on all of the sins of the orcs, because he knows that the orcs did this because they were starving, or they were ordered by Lord Gelmute, probably a combination of the two. He takes all of the sins of all of this upon himself in this absolutely just incredible scene, whereas Rimuru is consuming the orc disaster, he tells him, I will take all your sins with you. And then you have this little shot of the orc disaster, who was originally just this normal orc guy who was just trying to help his species. And you have this awesome little scene of him basically going to heaven, basically. And it's fucking incredible. What more do you want me to say about this goddamn show, dude? It's so fucking perfect. And yeah, it's fucking amazing. And that is the end of the orc disaster arc, and that is also the end of Tensora Core 1. And basically, I'll save everything else for the next review. So there you have it. That is my review of Tensora Core 1. That is the first entry in this massive series that I will be doing to finally give back to this anime that I just love so much. I hope you guys loved it, and I can't wait to see you in the next part. Oh hell no! I forgot to talk about Another Colony by True. Hell no! It only makes sense to review the ending of the show at the ending of the video. Oh my god, Another Colony by True. It's just, again, continues this stream of perfect fucking songs in this show. Again, this soundtrack is literally one of the best things about this show. It's literally one of the best things. It's like top 3 reasons why Tensora is the fucking peak fiction that it is this soundtrack. And Another Colony by True. First of all, this is the first song by True, who is the best artist of this. They're all fucking phenomenal. Midna Rain, Takuma Terashima, Ron, I adore all of them, but True is absolutely the best because she has by far the most songs, and literally every single one leave you fucking speechless. They're so beautiful. They're so perfect. Her voice is so fucking perfect. God, she's amazing. Oh my god, what I would not do to get an autograph from True. Seriously, this is just her first banger. She just wrote every single song that True wrote for this show is just S tier. It's fucking incredible. And they just get better and better and better, dude. It's insane. And Another Colony is just the first one, and it's fucking incredible. And the lyrics to this song, oh my god, they're fucking incredible. I love some of the lyrics towards the end of this song where you have like these hands want to protect everything that they touch. It's absolutely incredible. Why is it that the only ones who carry hope are the ones with despair in their heart? It's like, I didn't even know that Japanese music could sound good translated to English. And then this fucking show came along. What the hell? How are you this perfect? It makes no sense to me. And yes, this whole ending, it's masterful. It's just as fucking masterful as the entire rest of this show, dude. It's literally god tier in every fucking way, shape, and form. And yeah, and talking about some of the scenes in this, oh my god, where do you even want me to start? You get this incredible buildup of just all of this despair and everything of these characters, of Shizu's entire thing, and the ogres having their village destroyed, and the way they frame it, where Shion is sitting there in the rubble of her destroyed village and just drops her weapon and the rain is just pouring on top of her. And then this wave of slime just comes in and everything just gets fixed with Rimurus. It's, oh my god, how is this show this good? How does this show exist? Let's call it there. I think you guys get the point. Thank you for watching the very first episode of the ultimate That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime review series. I hope to see you in the next episode. And this is DK Guillotine, signing out.